welcome to the Widow's Journals. I always have things I plan on saying. I guess it would be good to say my name is Ray. We're on the Crone, the C is for Crone. Welcome to the dungeon. Eventually, most of the filming will be done down here. It just seems it's better lighting down here, actually. I'm noticing, even though I've got shadow on this side of my face, I've got light coming from there. I've got some lights right here, so it's just be great with it. I'm not as far along as the cleanup of the dungeon as I'd like to be. Every time I do something, I get very exhausted the following days. So if I have a really good day and I'm getting stuff done, even when I'm trying to be careful about not lifting too much and having things. Okay, something startled her. Leo, it's okay. Don't scream at Simon. He's like over there. Oh, I see. Maybe Bastian did something? Hey you, what did you do? Welcome to the distraction at the Crone Cottage. Yeah, I must admit, grief sucks. I've said that before so many times, but it really, really does suck. It's so distracting, you know. I would like to say that things are getting better, but I can say they're not worse. The loneliness is kind of insane some days. But in all this, one of the things that is happening, and I'm going to change the angle on the camera because... Sorry about that. Okay, that's better. I can sit... I'm having issues with my arthritis in my neck, hence the cowl, trying to just keep my neck warm. I suppose one of the positive things about my grief, me going through the grieving process, and I'm going to say again, even though it's been, we're working on 11 years since Mom passed, is that it's in changing my perspective, it's making me focus on how I want my life to go. Now, part of that normally comes, this starts coming this time of year anyways. I have a tendency to start taking stock of my life about 5 to 6 months before my birthday. It's in June. I will be turning 50. And all of that's really kind of, with the being a widow and grieving, has really skewed how I'm seeing things. And a lot of it's good. A lot of it is focusing on my own independence and what I want for my life right at the moment, and how important things I wanted before are even more important now as I'm getting older. But also there's a lot of things that are not as important, and that's bringing back to mind a thought I was having earlier today, and how little freedom I had being in relationships, and how different it is being a single person versus being a couple. I no longer have to run my thoughts by anyone else. If I want to do something, it's mine. It's mine to do. I'm not responsible to anyone but myself. I came from a family where what you did influenced the family. Now, what I do still influences my family, because the four fuzzers, the Fantastic Four, And the fish upstairs are influenced by what I do. Um, you know, I do have to get up and feed them. I do have to clean potty, and I do have to take care of fish tanks and go grocery shopping so I can get food. And these guys like their pets and loves and things, and they make it abundantly clear some days, Mommy, put your phone down. Pay attention to me, especially little Miss Morgana. But as I've been grasping this idea of being alone versus being lonely, and the amazingness of being alone, is there's no one to tell me no. If I wanted to turn around and paint the whole entirety of the house pink, I could. I could put purple polka dots on it. I'm not going to. I love purple. Purple is my power color, but that doesn't mean I want spots all over the house. But I can do it. I don't have to have someone tell me no. I don't like that. My husband was very supportive in a lot of ways, but he was very kind of set in his ways and how he liked things and how his thoughts ran out for things. And I find I'm that way too. But it made for little room for compromise some days, especially when it ran with the house, because his grief was and the house was very tied up into the fact that this house was his grandmother's house, which was where his mom grew up in. And so to change things meant to change the memories, for as far as I can tell, for him. It meant change, and he was uncomfortable with that because he needed to have those, to have that closeness to them. And that is one of the things that is influencing me on two sides with my grief, is what do I change, and is that okay to change it, and then how much? You know, if something is okay to change, how far do I change it so that it, you know, this all feels like mine, because it's my home and I live here, but at the same time not erase him completely from the house, because I would feel very uncomfortable with that. So it's all kind of interesting as I'm trying to focus forward and enjoy that forward movement, but at the same time what is too much and when is too far, I'm getting. And that could be a lot of what's causing problems, because I'm not ready to give away his clothes. Some of them fit me, so that fills a void. And if I were to lose some weight here, some of them would fit me and allow a transition, so I don't have to come up with 100 tons of money to go buy new clothes. And plus, wearing his clothes can make him feel a little bit closer to me. And right now, 4 months in, that, you know, that still feels like a very good idea, very comforting. However, it does hurt, the idea of keeping it. It's excruciating, painful to actually give anything away. But even just putting stuff in a bin, to put it away down here in the dungeon, so that I can have the space upstairs for myself. I cry a lot. And I know it's okay to cry and all that kind of stuff, but I guess that's the thing about grief. Grief doesn't allow us to zombie all the time. I find I'm on my phone too much, and not in a good kind of way. I don't know. They're crawling. The kittens are crawling in around there. I don't know what she's doing. I don't know. Ah, watch your claws. That's my crone cat. That's Cleo. Now I've kind of lost my train of thought. And that's part of grief too, is losing trains of thoughts. Because I found that grief just hijacks your brain, puts it in the corner, you go to look for it in the corner, and then you find it's moved it again. There are firsts for an entire year. I don't want to deal with that. I want to be happy. I want to grow my YouTube channel. I've got so many plans. I want to be able to focus, and I'm so tired from exhaustion, from migraines and fibro and osteoarthritis and Raynaud's and allergies and grief. I have very little energy, so sitting here and you know, I can start to feel that boohoo, poor me, and going, but that's not me. That's not who I want to be. So take a deep breath and let it out. And allow myself to relax. And Simon, you're having a sad moment. I'm so glad they're here, because there we go. They're such a big comfort to me, and I think that helps a lot. And sometimes they help me remember and to try and refocus on what it is I want for the future. And I'm hoping that the motivation I got a couple of hours ago, and some of it was from yesterday too as well, that I can hang on to it. I'm dealing with depression right now too as well. And there's lots of fatigue with that. So yes, it's that deep breath. And remember to watch my kittens play, because it's hilarious. But one of the things I got excited about was creating another playlist. And I know I have a ton of playlists on here, and it is creating more work. But it's helping me redefine what this channel is going to be about. And I'm going to call it the Crone Kitchen. Instead of having everything in Peg in Place, and that one's kind of floundering because I'm, you know, I'm not, or I haven't been in the headspace to sit there and do all the pagan stuff, which I think I can honestly say is not very helpful for me. But I have been being drawn back there this month a lot. It just sort of, and towards the end of the month, and I guess there's a full moon coming or something, or it's a new moon. I'm so lost in that scene and so disconnected from it. So, but anyways, I think the Crone Cottage end of things will be very, very good for watching Bastion. Sorry about that. It will be good for the business end of what I really want to be trying to do with this channel. The crochet and the knitting are more relaxation type things, but the writing, the painting, the gardening, and then making things from the garden and dealing with the home life, that really is the Crone Cottage. So that may become one of my bigger playlists in here. It's not that I don't want to be crocheting anymore, I just love it, but I just think to try and make a business out of that for me was really short-sighted. I really did want to try and do it. I really did want to, you know, be this crafter that, you know, I produce all this stuff and it's for sale. But what I found And I guess what grief is, sorry, Otis, what this time's grief is really helping me focus on is that's not me. That's not who I am. I crochet, but I'm not a crocheter. I'm a knitter. I knit, but I am not a knitter. What I am is an artisan, and therefore everything I do should be tied into via my artistic skills. So I guess I can thank my grief for giving that to me. I guess that if you want to look on the positive side, that was what, last week? Last week's, where is it here? Right down the bottom. Last week's mantra was, I will look on the bright side of every situation. And so maybe that's the point. That grief, the passing of my husband wasn't something I chose. I actually fought him a lot to do what he needed to do so he wouldn't die. And that's hard because I spent a lot of time working on goals and dealing with a lot of anger and frustration on his part. So I think maybe it's a good thing to now sit and look on the bright side of death, which is very Monty Python. I've been all last week when I was doing that mantra thinking about the bright side of death. Monty Python popped into my head. I do not know where that which episode or which movie that's from. But if you do, in the comments, that would be cool if you could comment on which Monty Python that was from, where they sang about looking on the bright side of death. It might have been from the Holy Grail. But anyways, on this week's ramblings, yeah, it's about grief sucks, but grief can show us a better way of living if we can see past the pain to see it. Yes, it's an end, but it's also a beginning, and as we deal with the ending and move to the beginning, I learned that with Mom. It was just reiterated that there can be good things, and it can help you focus on things. And no, as much as I want to have a relationship, no, I don't want to get married again. No, I don't want to share my space. No, I don't want to have anyone's opinion have to influence mine when it comes to decorating or doing things in the cottage. I don't want anybody telling me it's wrong to dig up grass and put in garden, which is much easier for me to maintain, because once you get it all in, once you get it all set up, it's done, and then it's just maintaining it, that maintenance. Whereas a lawn it's always mowing. It's always, if you don't water it, it doesn't grow right. If you want to show home one, then you're fighting crabgrass and weeds and all that other kind of things. And yes, you do fight weeds when you're gardening, but I find that sometimes leaving some weeds in there isn't a choking effect as can be thought of, but it does some with the companion planting. It goes well, which is just stuff I can end up talking about on the Crone Cottage. So as I work my way through grief, yes, I'm having up days and down days and all over the place days, and I'm crying all the time and just so emotional, and losing my favorite shows. I love Outlander, but I cry all the time now when I watch Outlander. It's hard. Kirk was my Jamie. And I'm Claire. As anyone who reads the books and stuffs, no, you become that character. You are Claire. So let's see, we're at 20 minutes. What are the gratefuls? I am grateful for the Fantastic Four, for Simon and his siblings. Even on the days when they're driving me nuts because they're fighting or whatever, or into stuff. Bastion is being very rebellious in his 1-year-old self. And Morgana follows him. She copies him a lot. So the fun of having twins. I am grateful for I think I've said this before, the gifts my husband have left me. And that's not, necessarily all material things. The house, yes. The house, I keep the house going, and I always have a foundation from which to spring forth everything that is positive in my life. It's a home for me, it's a home for them, it's creative space. When I clean this all up, it's storage space. It's a place to define what perspective future endeavors are coming. It's a place to run and hide when I need it. It's shelter. It's a place to it's a garden with which to grow creativity. And I am grateful for the silence now. I find there's aspects of the trips to dialysis that I miss. The traveling, the little mini road trips that, we get 3 times a week on. I do not miss going 3 times a week and having my life disrupted by dialysis. I don't miss that. I love him and I want him back, but not to do that. I am absolutely grateful for his love. That he loved me that much to actually marry me. He waited till he was 40 years old to get married. He wasn't going to marry anyone until he found the right one to get married. And so I'm grateful that I was that person. Dialysis was hell, but I'm grateful that I married him. He was so much to me in my life. So I'm grateful for that. Oh, and the happies. The happies was getting inspired today by watching a younger woman on YouTube. Her channel is Nerdforge. Her and her partner, boyfriend, I think his name is Hansi, I think. They do all sorts of fantasy stuff. Just some really cool stuff. So if you're interested in fantasy stuff, armor, she made her own armor. She paints. They just do all sorts of really cool creative things. Check out Nerdforge on YouTube. Here on YouTube. Sorry, I didn't mean to start with you, Cleo. And so that's my happy, is just being inspired. What else makes me happy is realizing I actually have a direction to go in, and that things aren't as bad as they may feel like, because grief mucks with your emotions and your senses and the way you perceive things. What else makes me happy? Yeah, let's just ask the cat and then have him flick his ears. They make me happy, despite the growing pains and the family adjustments and dealing with twins in toddler years. So, anyways, and on that sort of half giggly note, I need a drink because it's really dry in here. The other thing that made me happy was Martina from Nerdforge has inspired me to paint again, to really take a look at some of my older paintings and redefine them, and redefine some crochet projects that I had done. that I couldn't get to work. I don't know, maybe we just have lame-o hairspray, which I'm allergic to anyways. So I came up with the kind of idea that, you know, not worrying about what the color of the cotton was, even though they're really pretty, but just find any way to stiffen it. So I have the artistic skills to turn around and make it something really beautiful and usable. Anyway, so when it comes to grief, the only thing I can just pass on is cry, cry, cry. Pick yourself up and go forward, one foot in front of the other, and embrace those things that make you feel grateful and happy. Thank you for joining me here on the Widow's Journal and here in the dungeon in the Crone Cottage. And I guess weekend's coming. Hope the rest of your week and the weekend is good. Bye. Thank you for joining me.